Iguodala to Curry, back to Iguodala, up for the layup. Oh, blocked by James. Curry, one-on-one. Irving puts it up. It's good. Kyrie Irving from downtown. The three, steps back, crossover, puts up a three. Rebound James. Second. It's over. It's over. Cleveland is a city of champions once again. The Cavaliers are NBA champions.
Cleveland! This is for you!
Cleveland Cavs fans, welcome back to another episode of The Block, The Shot, The Stop. I am Kevin Lynch. That is Tim Daniel. We are here to talk Cavs as we always are, and in particular, the Cavs' big second win of the year. They're now 2-0, beating the Detroit Pistons 113-101 tonight. Tim, let's just start general thoughts. What was the first thing that stuck out to you about the game tonight?
First biggest thing was just how many turnovers they created. That was really impressive. I thought that obviously Cade Cunningham got his, and you saw if you look at the box score, it jumps out. But when Kenny Atkinson about halfway through the third quarter kind of made the adjustment to change how they were playing him defensively, you really saw so many things change, and the way that they jumped in the passing lanes, the way they forced it. Mobley had that one in the fourth quarter that was like crazy. Cade tried to bounce pass and he just took his long arm and tipped it with his fingertips. That was insane. So just the fact they were able to force so many turnovers, take advantage of that, really kind of being the difference of the game, because Detroit hung a lot longer than I think people who have been paying attention to them thought they would.
Yeah.
Which kudos to them. They're not going to be a fun team to play 3 more times.
Right.
But I thought that the way they were able to force turnovers, and obviously, I know you want to kind of talk about this a little bit, so I don't want to bury too much, but the balanced scoring amongst the team was really, really great.
It was, and definitely want to touch on that. I guess where I'd start is the two things that stuck out to me versus game one against Raptors. One, Pistons are a lot better than the Raptors.
Yes, they are.
You would have thought those were two of the worst, two of the lesser teams in the NBA talent-wise. Pistons are significantly better than the Raptors. And,
yeah, they are.
And gave the Cavs a good run for their money. The other difference, I think, in the game tonight is it was just a solid performance tip to finish. Unlike we were talking about the Cavalanche in game one, where they outscored the Raptors by 19 in the second quarter. They didn't really have any of those quarters tonight. It was just chipping away, consistently good. They were even talking about in the broadcast, like they kept waiting for the Cavs to go on an 8-0 run, 10-0 run to turn the game into a blowout. It just never happens. So really just solid, consistent performance for the Cavs against a better than you would think Pistons team.
For sure, man. I thought that the way that even with how well Detroit shot, I thought the Cavs were still really good defensively tonight. I thought they were in their spots. I thought they made things difficult. Detroit didn't have a ton of open shots. It wasn't like they were just leaving some guy by himself in the corner, and they were just able to knock shots down. Give them credit. They played really, really well. You can see how improved they are. Like you said, they're obviously way better than the Raptors. Obviously, I assume we're not going to go too far into it just yet, but I assume they're significantly better than the team that the Cavs play tomorrow night in the Wizards. But just having straight bucket getters, man. Cade is awesome. Jaden Ivey, you text me on the side, probably going to be in the conversation. If the Pistons were better, would be in the conversation for most improved player. Yeah. Tim Hardaway Jr., such a nice get for them as far as just kind of a shooter. And I know he didn't have his greatest game tonight. I'm a big Ron Holland fan. I really, really like Ron Holland.
Yeah, I mean, which you thought him and Niang were going to go to blows there.
I thought so.
That happened. Definitely got a little chippy there. No, I like, and we'll move on to the Cavs in a second, but I agree with you. I like bringing in a Tim Hardaway Jr., even a Tobias Harris, who I know is very maligned in Philadelphia, but they're adults in the room, longtime veterans that, having those solid veteran guys in your team can do a lot for young guys. And Cade Cunningham was fantastic tonight.
So good.
Like he was fantastic. And Jaden Ivey was fantastic. The only thing that held him back was him committing a couple stupid fouls in the third quarter to get he ended up being on the bench for about the last 8 or 9 minutes of the third quarter, which is obviously beneficial for the Cavs. But those two guys, man, they're tough. They like I said, they made a lot of really tough drives, tough shots, and gave the Cavs perimeter defenders everything they can handle.
Yeah, I thought Jalen Duren was good too.
Yeah.
He's good most nights, so that's not a shock value by any means. But for him kind of being their lone big going against the two bigs for the Cavs, I thought he held his own. And I thought he did pretty well. But um, we've kind of had this theme, kind of if you want to go ahead and push to the Cavs portion here now.
Yeah.
We've been talking about this throughout what are we technically between preseason and regular season. It's a 6th game and we've done now. Jared Allen, again, really, really nice night. Just really consistent, really hardworking. Can you believe, Kevin, there were Cavs fans in the offseason that wanted to trade this guy?
Yeah. I like being fair to Cavs fans. I don't think anybody doesn't think Jared Allen's good. It's all about the fit with Mobley, right? And so, but even after 2 games, you can see those 2 guys playing off of each other, playing complementary to each other, spacing them out so they both, they're not playing any other big guys besides those 2. Yes, they start together, but they're half the minutes they're each on the floor. They're on the floor as a lone big guy. So they're just both getting really good opportunities, both when they're on the floor together and when they kind of get to be the lone big guy and kind of have the paint to themselves.
Yeah, I agreed. I think that's what's really been nice. Sydney kind of commented, Evan had an okay game compared to Wednesday, which is a fair assessment.
Mm-hmm.
But I still thought he was really good tonight. I know he didn't shoot as well, he didn't score as much, but he did so many little things tonight. I mentioned the steal he had on Cade, and then the start of the 3rd quarter, Detroit tries with the full court pass, and he full on looks like Ed Reed back there, just jumps up and snags it out of the air. Block shots again, like he's continued to do throughout his career, and it was really, really good there. So I just really feel like with those 2, I was really, those 2 have kind of been, I don't know, is it fair to say so far through 4 preseason, 2 regular season games, those 2 have maybe been the best 2 players on the team?
I think you can make that argument, but the great thing about the Cavs is you could make that argument about a handful of guys.
Sure.
You could make a compelling argument for Ty Jerome being one of the 2 best guys.
Oh, and I plan to.
So far. I know you wanted to get into him. So before we do, I didn't want to bury the lead. I got to admit to you and to our listeners, Tim, I got to take a couple L's here, 2 in particular. First of all, I lost my bet of the night tonight. It happens. It was looking really good. Garland was all over the place and great in the 1st quarter and just wasn't quite as involved in the offense as I thought he might have been. Still had a really solid game, but was definitely expecting him to do a little bit more. But the more important L, I have to admit that I take starting Dean Wade was the right move. I know you and Skylar both agreed on that. I said I preferred Okoro. I don't know that you could have made a bad decision, but it's certainly Dean Wade is certainly taking advantage of his opportunities. I mean, he was tied for leading scorer tonight, 19 points, 5 rebounds, couple of steals, just kind of all over the place, doing a little bit of everything. He has really played well and given the Cavs what they needed out of that kind of 5th starter spot with the big 4.
I think the thing that jumped out to me the most about Dean Wade that I didn't expect, I knew he was a good shooter. I knew he was a good defender. Maybe this is just a Kenny Atkinson thing and how he's using him. Really good in transition.
Mm-hmm.
You kind of saw he had a couple he had a transition 3 tonight in the 1st quarter that was really, really good. I think that he's not a playmaker. Obviously, he's probably not going to out athlete you, but what he is providing for Cleveland right now, while they're waiting for Max Strus to get back, is kind of what you expect from Max Strus to a lesser extent. Probably not as good of a shooter, but still a very, very good player. He's been really awesome for this team. I think that he's fit that just what they needed. And it's opened opportunities for guys like LeVert to kind of take advantage of really kind of cementing him as the first guy off the bench, where Okoro had a fine night tonight. I think he had some really nice things. And he had that one pass to Mobley where he's falling down and got it between two Detroit defenders. Yeah. That was insane. So I think the rotation is fine, and I feel really good about it. But I do think that Wade has kind of proven why he was picked to be the leader in that group.
Yeah, no, for sure. He, like you said, not as good a shooter as Strus, but Strus is an amazing shooter, right? But more than anything, plays within himself, does what doesn't hurt the team at all, takes advantage of his opportunities. and really great. I mean, 7 for 9 tonight. Like, just giving the Cavs more than I think they would have asked for or expected from him. So with that, like, I want to focus on two of the non-Big Four guys first. Dean Wade being one, and I'll give you the floor for Ty Jerome.
What a night, man. And Brad Daugherty kind of said it at one point when he had that little run by himself and he had it in the second quarter, where he goes, Ty Jerome's out there making up for all the time he missed last year. But I'm pulling the stats up now. So 13 points, 4 assists, 4 of 6 from the floor, 5 of 6 from the stripe. And that was in 15 minutes played. And 10 of that was in the first half. So, they kind of backed off a little bit and kind of went more with the big group. But what he kind of has brought to the offense as far as being that backup point guard has been really nice. We had that lengthy conversation in the preview episode. Do you count on Donovan Mitchell for 10 minutes as the point guard? And he's making it to where you don't have to do that. And I think that's kind of the biggest thing that jumps out. So they had one play particular tonight I really liked. I told you about it before we went on air. So Kenny Atkinson used to run this play. I don't really know what it was called, but on NBA 2K, it was called Quick Through STS, where you have someone brings the ball up to the top of the key and a half court, and then they have someone come over to the elbow and catch the ball. And the guy who throws the pass to the guy on the elbow cuts to the rim real quick. Yeah. What it does, it brings up two situations. It either the defender follows that guy and gives you a little bit of extra space on the floor to where the guy who's receiving the first pass can make the option to shoot, see if someone else is open, or B, the guy who threw the pass and is cutting to the rim has a quick, easy lane. And they were able to do that tonight at one point with Wade and Jerome. And all my 2K friends were like, oh my God, they ran Quick Through STS. And I was super pumped. And I think that's, it was kind of its main state with guys like D'Angelo Russell and Karis LeVert and Rondé Hollis Jefferson with the Brooklyn team. So seeing Kenny Atkinson keep those in his back pocket and bring them in situations like that was really nice.
Yeah, no, cool. Those little subtle things. I think the exact same play they had LeVert run as well. At least once there in the second quarter. Just showing you different variations of the Kenny Atkins offense. Right, we've talked a lot about the high low. They're kind of introducing that. A lot of the playmaking from the elbow with the big guys, as you said. Little bit more isolation tonight, I think, than we saw in the preseason, particularly with Mitchell in the third quarter. With Mitchell's one of the better, break you down guys in the league, so you got to give him those chances at times. But I did like what the offense is flowing and moving. You hate to get away from that. But yeah, overall, pretty. I guess the last thing I'll talk about as far as the roster goes is the balance. Like you said, like I text you halfway through the third quarter and 6 guys were between 9 and 12 points at that time. And they had 7 guys finish with between 9 and 19, 6 guys in double figures, all 5 starters, and then Jerome. And it's incredible when you can do that, because the Cavs have a few players, particularly Mitchell, but then Mobley, Garland, Allen as well, that can carry you on a night. But when they don't have to, like when on the average night they don't have to, and everybody contributes, then they have a better chance of playing Superman when you only have to ask them to do it every now and again, right? When you're getting these kind of contributions that we see in the first 2 games on a near nightly basis, there's going to be a couple games they're going to need Mitchell to score 30, and he can do it. We know that. But if Mitchell's scoring in the low 20s and you got 6 guys in double figures, I mean, I think overall that's a great thing for the Cavs.
Yeah, and the fact that Mitchell's not even shooting well yet. I mean, again, we're 2 games in, so obviously it takes some guys some time to get rolling. But I thought tonight he was going to take off, and hats off to JB. JB game planned very well for him, getting the ball out of his hands and making sure that, the first quarter he had 5 assists. So it was kind of up to him to kind of facilitate the offense in that point. So I thought that, and that's probably a lot of JB just like, hey, I watched this guy practice every day for 2 years. I know what he's capable of.
Right.
And obviously he's a top 15 player in the league. So when Mitchell does click and get going, and the way they're running this offense, he has the sky's the limit kind of for him. Or do we pull out the Michael Jordan, the ceiling is the roof? comment there. And then with Garland, hasn't necessarily shot great yet either. But as we kind of discussed so far this episode, with how the offense is humming and how balanced they are, he can be a playmaker.
Right.
And that's fantastic. You could see him being a 18 point, 8.5 assists a game kind of guy, shooting 36% from three. I think that's a fantastic point guard for Cleveland. And I think that's what he has in him. Potentially better numbers than the example I just used. And for those two, I'm not concerned about them by any means because I know how good they are. And Garland hasn't necessarily had great numbers, but if you've watched if you've watched every play so far of each game, he's had great moments.
Sure.
That behind the back pass from Mitchell in the first quarter that finds Garland by himself for the three. That was
ridiculous.
That's like a 4%er. Only 4% of people in the world can make that play.
I think that was like Garland's third three in the first 30 minutes of the game.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it was great. And I will tell people, if you want to look at a box score and judge how a team played, the overall team played, for me, the first two things I look at in the NBA nowadays is honestly 3-point percentage. Cavs were like over 40% on threes tonight. And then field goals to assists. How many, or I should say assist to field goals. How many assists did you have on how many field goals? Well, the Cavs assisted 20 to 42, 66%. It tells you they're not, even despite that one little run with Mitchell, not playing a lot of isolation ball, playing T-ball, setting each other up. And I think just looking at those two stats with this Cavs team, or really any NBA team, you can kind of, tell how successful a night it might have been.
Ball movement is something that's really jumped out so far.
For sure.
And it's great. It's beautiful. I looked at when, what's what I was looking for. So, anytime we compare last year, we kind of give the preference that, hey, this is not us bashing JB Bickerstaff. This is just what we're noticing in the differences in the coaching staffs. And the way that they move the ball compared to last year is night and day. And you saw it tonight. There are multiple situations where it's like 3 or 4 guys touch the ball before someone takes a shot, kind of making that additional pass. And I think Doherty talked about that a little bit in the broadcast. By the way, he's really good at broadcasting. Yeah, I know he was a great NBA player, but he's a really good broadcaster.
Yeah.
And I thought that you kind of saw a lot of that tonight, and that's just kind of helping out so much. Like you said, that assist percentage is probably was helping them score so many points. And the fact that so far in both games, they're yet to give up 110 points. I mean, a lot to be really happy about there.
Yeah, absolutely. And, this may come off as a hot take or an exaggeration, and it probably is. But when I've been watching this team so closely to start the year, naturally you always think of like, who does this remind you of team-wise, like in the past and everything. And this team kind of reminds me of a mashup of the Spurs in the late 90s and early 2000s.
I see it.
Because Evan Mobley, everybody knows Evan Mobley's ceiling is to get, a level below Tim Duncan, right? Yeah. You can't ask anybody to be Tim Duncan, but there's that. And I see a lot of like similarities between Ginobili and Mitchell in their games. I see a lot of similarities between Tony Parker and Garland in their games, even like Jared Allen and like David Robinson, who's on those teams, down to like some of the role players that are on these teams. It's just
LeVert and Bruce Bowen.
Yeah, for sure. And those teams were just so balanced and complementary of each other. That's like what I'm seeing out of this Cavs team, and why I think they're raising their ceiling with every game right now. Like coming into the year, we said it is a great year if they can make it to the Eastern Conference Finals. And I still believe that, but they keep playing like this, maybe raise that ceiling, or maybe the Eastern Conference Finals becomes an expectation instead of a dream for them.
I think it's really easy to look at their first 2 games and go, well, they played the Raptors and the Pistons. And that's a fair point.
Sure.
But you can also look at how well they've still played, because this is the NBA. Mm-hmm. This is still at a time 10 of the best people in the world at what they do on the court together. And they were still managing to Look, tonight there were situations where Detroit didn't go away. They punched them in the face a couple times, and they got right back up. Almost literally at one point with Ron Holland and Georges Niang. And they just kind of kept going, and they didn't let anything get in their way. And I think that's the mark of a good team. A team that, look, your best player has not shot the ball well yet. And when he does, it changes everything for your offense. And still, even with him not happening, they're scoring really well. They're still playing at a quick pace. I love the way they play transition basketball. It is absolutely beautiful the way they score in transition, whether it's a three or cutting to the rim or attacking, just playing downhill. They're showing everything that you want to see from a Cavs team so far. So going into tomorrow against Washington, I'm genuinely curious if they cut minutes much, especially because it's a quick turnaround to play the Knicks on Monday. Who you and I are really have talked quite a bit about how we're excited for that game. But I'm really kind of genuinely curious, what does tomorrow look like for this group? Because you suspect, hey, they're going to play the Wizards. The Wizards aren't very good. But on a back-to-back, that makes it a little tricky, especially after you just had a really physical game against Detroit.
Absolutely. And kind of to your point about, who they've played and are we getting a little too excited about it? Two things can be true. They could have played not the two strongest teams in the NBA, and they could also look really, really good.
Yep.
I
both
agree.
are true.
Yeah. And that being said, and and we'll talk about the Washington game specifically in a minute, but maybe especially because I'm not going to be on the next couple of podcasts, I'm looking, they got a stretch coming up where you're not going to be able to say that for very long, because they got some of the better teams in the East coming up on there. Like you said, you got the Knicks on Monday. They're doing a back-to-back against Milwaukee next weekend. They play the Lakers, and they play the Magic, who the Magic, this is another comparison. The Magic are the Cavs last year.
Yes,
that's
absolutely.
They may become, I won't over exaggerate, a top 5 team for me to watch in the NBA.
Oh, dude, for sure.
Enjoyable. I think watching their opening game and everything, I'm like, oh, this is like the Cavs last year when they first started to discover how good they are and everything. So yeah, well, the Cavs are certainly going to get tested here real soon, but I think they're going to be up for these tests. And the New York game in particular, I think that's one we've had circled, because I think they're really if I had to guess who the Cavs are playing in the second round of the playoffs today, I would say the Knicks.
I would too, and I don't know how comfortable I am with that just yet, considering what they did tonight to the Pacers was.
Yeah.
Halliburton. Should Pacers fans be concerned yet?
No, give him. I think somebody's one of the NBA guys. I listened to it. Maybe Zach Lowe always said, don't get too excited about anything or too down on anything until you play at least 15 to 20 games. And so I want to give everybody that. And by the time the Cavs play that 15 to 20 game mark, it'll be early December. They'll have played, some of the lesser teams in the league and a lot of the higher teams, and we'll be able. And I think we're going to be feeling about as good as we are right now. Still,
I do too. I do too, man. I feel really good about this team, and we're talking still about a team that's done this without Max Strus, and when they get him back to kind of add to what's going on already, sky's the limit, man. I really think this is the team that we kind of all hope they would be so far.
Yeah, and one last thing before we do a preview for the Wizards, I completely forgot about the Jared Allen celebration on the defensive 30 seconds. That has got to be one of the most random things in all of sports. And because he comes across as a very quiet guy in general, you really don't see him yelling or too much. So for him to go so far, kind of out of what seems to be character for that is just, I thought it was hysterical.
It was awesome. He's so fun to watch.
Yeah.
Which is really funny to say for back to the basket big men. You're not really normally in love with those guys, but he's a blast, man. He's so fun.
He for sure is. Right, Tim, let's take a couple minutes here, talk about the Wizards game. We'll talk about the Wizards in particular. Also, the first back-to-back of the year, and the first of they're going to have several back-to-backs these first few weeks.
Yes, they are.
What do you, I guess, want to see on the back half of a back-to-back tomorrow night?
Well, I think the first thing that obviously jumps out is they're the significantly better team on paper, right? No offense to the Wizards basketball players, but it's not a great NBA roster.
Right.
You look at Kaidi Gugu down there. I really don't think they're sitting there to like on the plane to DC right now, like really worried about Bilal Coulibaly, really worried about, Bub Carrington. I do love Bub Carrington. Malcolm Brogdon, that was a really nice get for them. I do like him a lot. But I think that realistically, you're looking at this in all aspects of the game on paper, because this is the NBA. They're the better team. They're a better offense team, better defense team, have better players, have a better coaching staff, or a better franchise. They should go out there and win big. I think the spread currently is 11.5. But this is the NBA, right? So what is their focus level going to look like going into this game tomorrow? I don't think they're a team that's going to take a night off. I don't think they're going into this like, who cares for playing the Wizards? I think they believe how good they are. I think they want to prove how good they are. And I think Kenny Atkins is out to prove that what happened in Brooklyn wasn't his fault, and he can show that he can really coach a team. And I think they're going to really go out there and do that. I think they're going to flex their muscle. I think they're going to be out physical. I think they're going to outshoot them. And you're looking at a situation where it's like Kyle Kuzma is going to be guarding Evan Mobley. Like, you feel pretty good about that matchup. So I love Kuzma. I do. And I do like them getting Jonas Valanciunas. I think he's a really good matchup for this team, but he's not going to be there very long. I think we all agree with that.
Yeah.
So I think this is a game where Cleveland goes in there and they keep doing what they're doing. They handle their business. And I think this is a game that Donovan Mitchell gets it going. I really think that they have no answer for him.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Not to say the Cavs won't have a bad night or maybe become unfocused at some point in the year. I just don't think it'll happen game 3, especially when they played so well the first couple of games. They and they have so many guys who are just like who are playing so hard. I mean, whether it's taking charges, getting on the ground, and like that stuff's contagious to where I don't think if anybody even was, slipping their focus or anything, they're going to be brought back in by all the other guys in the team. Like, if Mitchell or Garland's, a little bit unfocused and not playing hard or something, Ty Jerome's going to come in and play hard, or Sam Merrill's going to come in and play hard, So yeah, I think they take care of business. I think they go in like, when they win going away to where hopefully the starters don't even have to play much in the fourth quarter, and then get ready for the stretch and get ready for the Knicks on Monday in the stretch of playing, some of the better teams in the league.
Yeah. I really wish you were going to be here Monday, because that's going to be such a fun game to talk about. I mean, Skylar and I will hold it down. Don't get me wrong, but
yeah, I'll shoot you a couple of my thoughts. I should be able to, I'll be at a work dinner, probably peeking over someone's shoulder watching the game.
Absolutely. As you should. By the way, the Bulls beat the Bucks tonight in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
How about that?
Yeah. I'm a little bit worried about that Bucks team.
Maybe
for another day, but yeah.
Yeah, I've been pretty low on them. To be honest with you. But going back to the Wizards game, I just think they're going to take care of business. Like you said, the depth of the Cavaliers is going to help them out in these situations. These back-to-backs is where it's going to be really, really valuable to have all the guys they have. And Kenny Atkinson has celebrated it quite a bit about their depth. Not to the extent Steve Kerr has so far, but has kind of done a lot of just making sure that so many guys are playing. I mean, we talked about the balanced scoring, and then we also have to talk about the fact that how many minutes all those guys are playing as well. And it's pretty even as far as what you'd expect. So, does Tristan Thompson play tomorrow? I think he does. Give someone a little bit of rest.
Yeah, you're kind of reading my mind there. That was the one thing I was going to add about a back-to-back. We've talked about like little things, especially little things on the edges this team could add throughout the year, whether it's development from within or bringing people in from the outside via trade or whatever. They're going to need a third big guy at some point because, Jarrett and Evan, they're not both going to play 82 games. They're not going to play, 35 minutes a night on back-to-backs. So they're going to need a third big guy, whether that's Tristan, who's obviously going to get the first chance at it, or somebody else. It is really nice to have both those guys and be able to stagger the minutes where they're the only two big guys you need on certain nights, but that's not going to last all season. And I agree with you. Tomorrow might be the first time we see a third big guy get some minutes.
I need to like
Tristan
pull up,
Thompson.
pull up Spot Track real quick to see if there is like if they have any information on free agent NBA big man right now. I don't know if they will quite yet. I don't want to take up too much of the show since we're kind of getting towards the end, but just kind of was like, oh wow, you're right. See, free
there's
agent.
always somebody that you wouldn't expect. I'm like trying to think the top of my off the top of my head. I didn't know Jackson Hayes was back on the Lakers again until the other night. Like he would have been somebody I might have guessed was floating around out there.
Nothing like, I mean, I don't think that the Cavaliers are dying to have Colin Castleton. So,
no. Oh yeah, the Lakers waived him, right? Like,
yeah. Robin Lopez is on the market. Bring him back.
Yeah. I mean,
he's played for like everybody. So
he has. Talk about immaculate grid answers.
Yeah. No kidding. Hey, before we get out of here, can I just mention one quick thing? Not to take over the show from you. Shout out the crowd tonight.
Yeah.
Rocket Mortgage. They were incredible, man. I don't think JB should have gotten booed. I understand it's sports, but it seems like it was 50-50 from what the reporters inside the arena were saying. But have you ever been to a game there?
It's been a while, but yes.
It's an unbelievable atmosphere, man.
Yeah.
It's what made me become a Cavs fan.
Yeah.
It's just unbelievable there. I love it so much. And I can't remember the gentleman's name. I hope we have him on the show at some point, but their hype man in the arena.
Yeah.
He's terrific. I apologize. I forgot your name. I'll remember it before tomorrow. But dude, that was just like on the television broadcast, you could tell how much they were into the game, and it was really cool to see.
Yeah, there was definitely an energy, and some of that's opening nights, taking the lid off the jar for the season. But you're right, game to game, most of the time it is probably one of the better atmospheres in the NBA, and obviously it's much easier to be a really good atmosphere when the team's really good.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
Tim, any final thoughts before we get out of here?
No, man, I think everything's rolling so far. We're having a lot of fun. Thank you all so much for tuning in so far. I know this has been a very trying project for us to get off the ground. And I think it's going really, really well. And we're really, really appreciative of all the support so far. And we're having such a great time watching a really good basketball team on a nightly basis. So,
yeah, and it's a labor of love. We love basketball. We're having fun. It is a lot of work anytime you get something new project off the ground. And to echo your sentiments, we do really appreciate people jumping in for these first few episodes, starting to look at numbers, starting to see a few more listeners each episode, and we really do appreciate it. So please keep listening, download, subscribe to the podcast. We're on Apple, Spotify, anywhere that you find your podcasts. You can always check us out on YouTube. And we are now on every social media platform. The Block, the Shot, the Stop podcast. Go find us there, and we'll love to interact with any and all Cavs fans. So with that, he's Tim Daniel. I'm Kevin Lynch. Thank you all for joining us, and go Cavs.
Go Cavs.